Lesson 23, dividing a whole into fractions. Let's take a look at 3 examples from part 1. We're going to write down whether each circle has been divided into halves, thirds, fourths, sixths, eighths, or tenths. So let's do box A as our first example. As you can see here, this circle has been divided into halves. So write down halves. Second example, box B. This circle has been divided into fourths. So write down fourths. And don't forget the THS in the word fourths. Last example in part 1, go to box D. This circle has been divided into thirds, so write down thirds. In part 2, let's go over 3 problems. We're going to write down how much of each circle has been shaded. Then we'll write down the corresponding fraction. So take a look at the example box. Here, this circle has been divided into thirds, just like in this example here. So I'm going to write down thirds. And how many thirds have been shaded in? And you can see here that 2/3 have been shaded in. So write down 2/3. And you'll notice that the word thirds is spelled out. Now let's write the corresponding fraction. Instead of spelling out 2/3, we can write it just like this. 2/3. And that's the corresponding fraction. Now look at box G. This circle has been divided into halves. And how many halves have been shaded in? 1/2 has been shaded in. So write down 1/2. And be sure to spell out the word half. Now write the corresponding fraction. Instead of spelling out 1/2, write it like this. 1/2. Last example, box H. This circle has been divided into fourths. And how many fourths have been shaded in? 1, 2, 3/4 have been shaded in. So write down 3/4. Again, be sure to spell out the word fourths. Now let's write the corresponding fraction. Instead of spelling out 3/4, write it like this. 3/4. The rest of the problems are completed the same way. But for now, let's actually go back to the example box and take a closer look at the fraction 2/3. Here we have the fraction 2/3. And 2/3 can also be thought of as 2 divided by 3. So the question is, how does a division problem like 2 divided by 3 give us an answer that looks like this? So let's take a look at another model to help us understand that. Here we have 2 circles and we're going to divide them into 3 groups. And as you can see here, our division problem is 2 divided by 3. But how do we do that since we don't have enough circles to divide into the 3 groups? So here's how we're going to do it. Instead of trying to divide both circles at the same time, just take care of them one at a time. So take this circle and divide it by 3, and you'll notice that we end up with thirds. Now take this circle, divide it by 3, and again, we end up with thirds. Now we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, and this is what we'll divide into the 3 groups. Let's go ahead and do that now. So here we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, and 6/3. And as you can see, each group has 2/3. Here's 2/3, 2/3, and 2/3. Let's write it down. 2/3, 2/3, and 2/3. And another way of writing 2/3 is 2/3, 2/3, and 2/3. Now let's go back to the division problem. Here we have 2 divided by 3. So just write down 2 divided by 3. And our fraction here is 2/3. Each group had 2/3. So once again, you can think of fractions as division problems. Here with the fraction 2/3, we took 2 circles, divided them into 3 groups, and each group had 2/3 of a circle, just like you saw here.